What you're about to engage in is a special recording of the Equity Challenge brought to you through United Way of Rhode Island in partnership with Slate Media. My name's Kevin Mata, and I'll be your facilitator and guide for this year's Equity Challenge journey. These are real stories told by real people meant to humanize the purpose of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and actually highlight the unity behind it. Welcome to the journey. We're excited to have you here. Great, and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us for day 2 of the Equity Challenge, where we're going to be talking about why diversity, equity, inclusion is neighborly. And I'm so excited to not only be joined by colleagues, but also by friends too. So I'll let you both introduce yourselves. Tell our folks who you are and what you do.
I'll start.
Okay.
My name's Shamim Awan, and I work at Amica Insurance Company. I am in my 29th year, which is pretty amazing.
Of life.
Of life. Yes, I started when I was 2. And I work in HR currently, been working in HR since 2021. Before that, worked in the core business and claims for 25 years. And I love it. I love the company. I love the people. I love what I do. And I get to meet so many great people because of sort of what I'm doing now. Originally from the United Arab Emirates and lived there for 20 years. And my favorite thing about what I'm doing now, I think, is meeting you both.
Yeah.
And just being able to build that network.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear that.
Right.
Thank you for being here with us.
Of course, my
Appreciate it.
pleasure.
Hi. Maurice Lowman, born right here in Providence, Rhode Island, raised in East Providence, Rhode Island, right over the bridge. I'm full-time sales and advertising for Priority Automotive Group. Very prideful of my home store, which is Kia of Attleboro. So full-time automotive sales and advertising. And then in my free time, I stay very vocal and active in the running/recovery space. So I'm very vocal about my journey, and I help to build community. I'm the founder of a small community called the Panda Posse, and we hold 2 annual events that get people of all abilities together in a run-walk type event. And I'm really happy about going into the 2nd year of that.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that there's serendipitous connection here too. And I think it all came from us probably following Maurice on Instagram. What is your Instagram, just so people know?
Marathon Panda Maurice.
The Marathon Panda Maurice. And you might be wondering, what does that have anything to do with this? And it's because you run with a panda hat. Or
I call myself the panda. Yeah,
The
so
panda.
it's the animal that I relate to the most.
Yep. And you run marathons. And I remember when I first started out as a runner too, I think you actually connected me with my running coach who helped me with the marathon training.
Yes.
And then I found out that you both knew each other. And I was like, we have to have this conversation.
Yeah. Serendipity.
It is
I
serendipity.
know.
And so how did you both
Oh, me.
meet?
Yes. So I started following Maurice on Instagram. I think we must have had common friends. And I'm like, this guy is nuts. I was like, he runs so much, but he's so positive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's an Instagram influencer. He's famous in Providence. That's exactly what I
Very
thought.
famous.
Very famous.
He has like, what's it called when you have like deals or sponsor
Oh, yeah, yes.
ambassadorships? I was like,
he's-
okay, so cool.
Yeah, he's so cool. And so I was walking my dogs on the boulevard and I was talking to my mom at the same time. And here comes Maurice flying by on his bike. And he was like, I was like, oh my, and I told my mother, I'm like, that was just Maurice Lowman. And he just waved at me.
I know.
Yeah. And so that's how I started following him. And then I went on a retreat with Rhode Island Hot Yoga and met a couple there, Doug Finglas and his wife. And we just started talking about running. And I said, oh, do you speak? And, do you sit on panels and things like that? Because we've been doing a lot of these courageous conversations. And he said, yes. And I said, do you know that guy Maurice Lowman? And he's like, oh, yeah, I just went running with him at Blue Hills.
Yes.
Yep.
And so we ended up connecting together, and Maurice and Doug came to Amica and participated in one of our courageous conversations, which people loved. We had something like 250 or 300 people total chiming in, and they still talk about it.
Yeah. And that's what I love about this topic and this conversation. Diversity, equity, and inclusion has been really under attack right now. It's under a lot of, perspective taking from different folks. And one of the reasons why we wanted to call today's topic neighborly is really because that's what it does, right? It creates diversity, equity, and inclusion, creates access to meeting great people, to being a good neighbor, to being a good friend. And what I love about this trio here is that we've all been neighborly to one another,
Yeah.
right? And I remember, again, when you were running, and I think you would see me running, you'd be like, keep going, because you would not stop to like say hello. Meanwhile,
No, he doesn't.
like, will anybody stop me for like a moment to chat for like 5 minutes while I'm trying to like run my way through? But we met community there, right? We meet community out and about running.
Yeah, and I think he did the same thing to me because this was recently, and he was sprinting out of the boulevard, and I was like, Maurice, and he's like, can't stop, gotta keep going.
I blew a hug and a kiss though.
Yeah, exactly. No, but you always take the intention, right? To address, say hi, and to
Yes.
inspire.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that mantra or that practice that you have.
So the mantra was born. I was introduced to this community back in the running community back in 2012 or 13. The actual community piece. I had used running as my go-to exercise when I got serious about health, wellness, and sobriety, and it was a huge foundation piece for me. I was consistent with it, but unfortunately still struggled with my alcohol and substance abuse. When I got super serious about long-term sobriety, the missing piece had been the community aspect. I had registered and signed up for my very first half marathon event locally, Bristol, Rhode Island. I knew nothing about half marathons.
But you signed up for a half marathon.
Signed up for a half marathon. I had been running,
13.1.
skipped the 5Ks and the 10Ks and all
He's
that.
like, I don't know much, but I'll sign up.
So signed up, and there's a really cool story to it because, and I talk about my story often. It's that of overcoming life's adversities. So I was actually less than 1 week released from prison at the ACI in Cranston, Rhode Island, but had been clean and sober because I had been away for a few months. Had a friend sign me up for this race because she knew how much it meant to me. And my dream was to run a marathon one day. So I said, you got to start somewhere. Let's start with the half marathon.
Yeah.
Sign up for this half marathon, knew nothing, bought a pair of sneakers off the clearance rack at the local Marshalls or TJ Maxx or something like that. Signed up, showed up with the positive attitude and with the determination to get this done, and ran the race, had a ton of fun, finished the race. And I remember a young woman came up to me and she's like, you did great. She gives me this high five and I'm just feeling amazing. She looks at my number. She said, do you know how to check your number? Do you know how to check your time? I said, no, I don't. It's my first time doing this. So she goes, type your name and your number in the screen. They'll tell you your finish time. Prints out a slip, gives me my finish time. She's like, you did great. High five, bro. You did great. And the sense of positive recognition coming from a place where I came from, where I wasn't being recognized for positive actions. I was being recognized for negative activity. Combine that interaction with another cool interaction that same day where a sheriff from Providence, Rhode Island recognized me. He was there cheering on his daughter, and he looked at me and he said, I know you. And he called me by my last name and he said, I know you. He said, you were just locked up last year. He said, you look amazing. He said, you should be proud of yourself. Most men don't turn it around this quickly. And he's like, I just want to tell you that I'm proud of you. And he said, you've come a long way from the last time I saw you. And I don't know if he knew that I had just been released. I don't know. He didn't know anything. He just knew the last time he saw me, I was here, and he's seeing me here. And that sense of positive, who doesn't like that feeling? Like that sense of positive recognition and affirmation, it made me beam. I was like, this is incredible. Combine that with my mom, my aunt, we're at the finish line saying, awesome job. And I'm like, this is the best feeling in the world. I'm never going to go back to that old life. So I signed up for my next one. If I could afford it and it made sense for my schedule and my travel accessibility, then I made it happen. So I started doing all these local races. My attitude was, I'm gonna chill. Like, you're awesome. We're all like,
You're awesome.
yeah. So
You're awesome.
that was my attitude.
Yeah.
And it caught on People are
Yeah.
like, who's this guy?
That's
So
exactly
he's
what I
always
said.
hyped up. He's always passing out high fives. And I went back to that first day and I'm like, I came up with this mantra, high fives and positive vibes. I don't think I'm the first one to ever use it, but it caught on.
Yeah.
Now, I've always thought, like, the vision has always been bigger than what's going on right now. So I made T-shirts. I called myself the Panda. I'm making custom shirts, showing up to these races, cheering everybody on. Go back, rewind to when I was a kid. And the reason why this topic is so exciting for me, my father instilled this in me. You need to be a good neighbor to everybody.
Yeah.
Somebody walking down the street, somebody in the store, somebody that greets you. You always need to be the person that says, hi, good morning, how are you today? Go out of your way and say, you look great today. And those kind of values were always instilled in me. So it was easy for me to be that person out in a community where I was enjoying myself so much. It was easy for me to be, you're great, we're doing great, we got this. And everybody gravitated towards this positivity. And I became like a beacon of positivity. Tie that in with the fact that I'm talking about overcoming all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And I felt like it was my duty to continue to be that beacon of light and hope and positivity. So I'm enjoying the journey.
Absolutely.
I really am.
You are inspiring. High fives and positive vibes.
Yeah, so,
Shameem, tell us a little bit about your intersection here and again, how you show up in that way too, because you're super positive all the time. I see you. You always give the best hugs too.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm like, how do we continue to demonstrate that neighborliness?
Yeah, I think, for me, when I moved back to Rhode Island, I went to college here and started working at Amica right after college. Was offered a job in April, graduated in May, and then started working in October. And then transferred to Houston, went all across the country. I was probably, I think it was 15, 16 years where I was away from Rhode Island, came back in 2009. And I thought it's much different than when you're going to school in Rhode Island, right? And I thought, wow, it's a very tight-knit community. Everyone knows everyone. And I thought, if I don't get in somewhere or join things or volunteer, which I really like to do. I've volunteered since I was a young girl. I'm not going to meet anyone. So it started out just really, really small. And when I travel around to different places, my go-to is, like yours, is the gym. So I find a gym and that's how I meet people. And then here, because it's so small, I met a lot of people. Then I was part of a couple of board of directors. Then I was part of Leadership Rhode Island. So my network just grew and I focused on, hey, how can I be that person who's sort of a connector in the community? And I love Rhode Island. I love Providence. And I think, this is a great place to live and work and has wonderful, wonderful people. So I have met so many folks just by maybe going to events by myself or joining things. And I think, if I see someone who maybe is an introvert and they are not sure, what to do, I always make sure that I extend like the welcome wagon.
Yeah.
Hey, let me take you out. Let's go to lunch. I'll show you around. And I think it's just what you have to do, right? You got to connect people.
Yeah, and it's about giving what we've received at no cost, right?
Right.
It's being a good neighbor, it's being a good friend.
Right.
That doesn't cost you anything.
No.
And one of the reasons why I love this topic too is because we were at a conference recently for actually Power of Women, and we had an amazing speaker named Lovey Jones who said something that we are all in this life together, whether we realize it or not. She was like, we're in a giant group project that we can't get out of.
Exactly.
She's like, and there are some people that are literally not doing the assignment, and there are other people that are like, I have to do the assignment or else it's all going to fail. But one of the things that she said is that once you realize that we're all in this interconnected group project, she talked about almost like your neighbor's house being on fire. Even though it might not touch your property or your house, the smoke and the fumes eventually affect you, right? If that home becomes foreclosed or gets shut down or something happens to it or falls apart, that family is now misplaced. That does impact you as well. So as neighbors, we have to be attentive to one another, right? Your well-being, my well-being is all interdependent on one another. So how do we help folks who are either listening or watching this series think about being a good neighbor as an act of diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to open your heart to everyone, right? And I think being that good neighbor is, it's important for you as a person, and it's important for your neighbors, right?
Mhm.
And I think what's made it a little bit more challenging is a lot of social media, right? And a lot of computer use. Back in the day, back in the olden days, you used to go out and talk to your neighbors, right? Like I lived
I used to hang out with your neighbors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I lived in Providence for so long. I finally got a dog, and that's how I started really meeting my neighbors and walking the dog and just saying hello to people, right? There's a lot of folks who, you walk by you and they kind of look down, but I'm always like, hello, like Maurice, it's really like making that connection because you will saying hello to someone. If I see you 10 times, I will say hello to you 10 times.
Correct.
Right?
All the 10 times.
Yes.
You're not
Yes.
getting out of it.
You're not getting out of it. So I think that's how you're building that connectivity, and just a smile can make someone's day.
Absolutely.
Right?
And once again, right, something like a smile, a
Yeah.
how's it going, a high five. It's such an interruption into someone's day that they might not be expecting.
Yeah.
That it's life changing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
To go around. I recently had someone, and it's a colleague that I hold so dear to my heart. And she said something where she said, I'm used to not being seen. I'm used to being invisible. And I was like, how do we allow someone to
Yeah.
get to that place when you're surrounded
By people.
by people all day long? So I went back to the office and I made her like a ridiculous sign and posted it on her door, and because I wanted her to know that like you are seen and like I see you every single day. You matter to me. So how do we bring that back into like the day to day?
I love what you said. I couldn't love it more about being the welcome wagon. It's almost like people without personalities
Yeah.
seek that out. And I mean, I have stories for days, but one of the stories when I graduated the men's program back in 2008, 2009, there was a gentleman that came in, and I took pride in taking him under my wing because he was an absolute introvert. He didn't want to talk to anybody. He didn't want to ask questions. He didn't want to be part of any little group and didn't want to participate in anything. But he made the first step by coming to the program. And I saw something in him. And I immediately, it just drew us together. And I took him under my wing. So fast forward 16 years later, and we're best friends. And he's an amazing man. He's been through so much, and he does so much. He's in the the mental health field now. He put himself through his master's program. So to just see him, and we joke around about, he's like, you took me to get my first haircut, when we left the program. But like, I took so much pride in seeing this young man doing the right thing and being kind of timid. So like, it didn't matter. And I can't say it enough. My positive experiences, I'm in a different socially economic class now than I was 10 to 15 years ago. And I hope I said that right. And I don't want anybody to think that because of their income, their race, their background, their gender, whatever, I don't want anybody to think that they're not welcome in the things that I do enjoy, promote, whether it's fitness, whether it's yoga, whether it's running, whether it's community, whether it's sales, whether it's advertising. When I had a young man at your class,
Oh, yes.
come up to us after class and ask how he could get involved with like making social media commercials. My guy that does my stuff took a few minutes and was like, this is awesome that you're interested. Let's sit down, let's talk, let's grab a coffee. Like, he was so excited that somebody was asking him a question. And I think that's how we need to be. We're natural at that. When somebody wants to be included, I want to lift them up. And I think we all just have to do a better job, like what you did, making your coworker feel important and feel seen. We all, especially today in 2025, when mental health plays such a vital role, I myself was ignorant to how important mental health is in everybody's life. I used to look at people and I was very guilty of assuming people had it all
together. Yeah.
because they put together.
Yeah.
What is the
Never,
biggest facade?
you can
Ever.
you can never assume, you can never judge, and you never know what somebody's going through. A smile, a compliment, a question, an invitation.
Yeah.
The coolest thing about this small community that I've built is people coming to me and saying, I never thought that I could run a 5K. I never thought that my dad would run a 5K with me.
Wow.
My mom's coming next
Yeah.
year. I'm getting my sister to come.
Yeah.
Like, this is awesome. Like, having a family that went from like not doing something like that together, and now all three of them are participating in this fun run walk event and getting the shirts and the medals and the snacks and the selfies, and it's just so awesome. And now they look forward to the next one. Now they're signing up for other things, and they're making it a family thing. And to think that I can play a very small role in that building of that community and family, it's an amazing thing.
Yeah, and I think it's really, you have to be a good listener. You have to pay attention, right? So for me, it's like I can listen to what people say, and if there's something that I notice where they might need help, I won't call it out, but I might email them. But I think it's really important that you're aware of everyone else, because sometimes we can be a little bit self-centered,
Absolutely.
but listening is really key, and really paying attention. I had, someone who we were talking about getting LinkedIn profiles, and let me help. Does everyone have one? Because I teach a class at Rhode Island College, and not everyone had one. I said, well, we're going to have a session where we're going to go through LinkedIn. And someone said, I think that'd be great because I'm renting a computer. And I thought, renting a computer, we can do better than that, So I had a computer at home and let them borrow it for the semester. And I said, if you do really well, then you get to keep it. And so they got to keep it. So I think most people probably wouldn't pick up on that. So I think it's really, you've got to have that, you've got to listen, you've got to pay attention. And I mean, the person was ecstatic. I mean, I thought he was going to cry, but you just, you got to, I think listening is key.
Absolutely. And it's these small acts of kindness, right?
Yes.
It's recognizing someone when they show up to the race for the first time
Yes.
and acknowledging them. It's listening to someone and realizing that they're renting when you could if you have the access and opportunity to share with them, to get it to them, right? So again, it's giving from what we already have from a place of abundance. And it's not just financial, right? It's time, it's energy, it's a smile, it's a hug.
Yep.
It's an act of kindness, right? Again, and I think that's what the action of being neighborly is all about, right? It's waving hello, acknowledging that you're not alone on this street or in this world or in this group project, right? We're all interdependent, and you doing good and you doing good benefits me too.
Everyone.
It does.
It's
It
I
goes
tell
a
people,
long
it's a
way.
win-win,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I can remember receiving my first gift when I was in the men's program, and one of the women volunteers pulled me to the side one day, and I'm thinking, like, what did I do? Did I do something wrong? And she said, I've been watching you. You've been, running in the parking lot every day. And I told my husband your story about how you're trying to stay sober, and you're in this men's program and you love running. So she said, we got you something. And I was running in hand me down sneakers from the donation bin, and they had bought me a brand new pair of running sneakers. He was a retired high school track coach. She was a women's volunteer at the women's shelter. So that immediately just lit a fire of thankfulness inside of me. And then fast forward into when I was pretty active in the community, and I experienced my first act of just random kindness. This woman who, once again, me being guilty of kind of judging and saying, I don't think she's that nice. She pulls me to the side, and she was like, she put something in my hand, and she said, I really love your attitude, and I see you here every month. And she's like, I want to take care of your next race for you. And it was at a time where the question was in my head all the time, was like, how was I going to pay for this next event? This thing that means so much to me, and I enjoy it so much. I didn't know how I was going to pay for the next one. And she just made that happen. So to be in a position where I can do that for others now, I've had a friend say, Mo, I don't think I'm going next month. Me and my wife, we can't make it happen. So if I'm in a position to offer a hand to somebody, that's especially my friend, it's such a feeling of, it warms my heart too. It warms my heart too. And then he couldn't believe it. He's like, what do you mean you're going to take care of it? I'm like, I'm going to take care of it. Don't worry about it. But I learned that from somebody who I never thought I would learn it from. And it's just stories like that like keep the fire going. It really does.
And I think, sorry.
No, go right ahead.
And I was going to say that I love that story that he talks about the running shoes. And I remember saying to Maurice when we did the other panel, I was like, Maurice, like, you should be so proud of yourself. 1 minute, you're sort of at rock bottom. You don't have a pair of shoes. Someone gifts you a pair of shoes. And now you're a Lululemon ambassador with your own promo code for others to buy shoes, which is
remarkable.
Literally, you should be so proud.
I appreciate that. I do. And that's where the mantra was born.
Yeah.
Running the streets that used to run me. So here's the thing. I can talk about my story all day. For the next 6 months, we could stay here and talk about my story. But if I'm not using it to uplift others and to show others that there's a way, whether you're struggling with depression, mental health, substance, alcohol, anything, if you're just stuck in a rut of like what life throws at you, whether it's grief, no matter what it is, when I experienced my first serious loss of someone in my family as an adult, I had running. Yep. I had the streak, I had the accountability, I had the community. I knew the next day and that next weekend I could show up to one of these events and be surrounded by people that cared about me. Absolutely. And that's what kept me going. I didn't know how to process the grief. I didn't know how to process the loss because I had never gone through it. But I had that to lean on. And that whole mantra is like, it's not just, hey, look at me. It's like, hey, look what you can do with consistent positive changes in the right direction. Acts of kindness, positive attitude, just making, telling somebody making somebody's day by telling, even something as simple as like, I get yelled at work when I say happy Monday, and then my favorite question is, what's so happy about it? And then I love
Monday. You're awake,
but you're alive. Like,
you're alive.
That opens the door because to me, it's not just a phrase. Like, I mean it. Like, I mean it. Like, I'm walking into a job that I love. I'm able to pay my bills most of the time. But all kidding aside, I'm able to pay my bills. I have this attitude that, like, if it's not steak and potatoes, if it's peanut butter and jelly, we're still doing all right. Things could be a lot worse. There are people that look at our day-to-day routine and say, I wish I had that.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
I look at my day-to-day routine and remember when I did wish that I had it. So now that I have it, it's easy for me to be the person that says, happy Monday. And when my favorite question is, what's so happy about it? Well, we're alive, we're breathing, we're able to do this. It's a fresh start. It's a new week. If you didn't like the way last week went, here's your chance. Yeah. Here's your chance
to rewrite it all
over again. Don't wait until Friday to be excited.
Absolutely. I love that too. And again, running does do something very specific to, I think, to each individual. For me, running was one of the most healing practices I've ever been through. And a lot of folks are like, wow, you're very contemplative, or you're very thoughtful, or you know yourself well. And it's because running offered me that opportunity to really meet myself where I needed to be met. I mean, it is an isolating thing to do because you're running by yourself most of the time, and until you see the friend that you can say hi to, who doesn't stop to talk to you.
I gotta go faster.
Like, I
got 3 more miles.
But it challenges you to also recognize what's around you. And and I think that's one of the practices, again, right, about being a good neighbor, and how fitness, or even health and wellness, whether it's walking, running, whatever it is, can help you see that. And to the point about being like a welcome wagon, I love welcoming people to Providence and to Rhode Island, because I'm like, I know every side street there is. And they're like, how do you know it? And I'm like, no, it's because of running. But I'm like, you have, I mean, I got so bored of the boulevard.
That you have to take other rides.
But you find the most beautiful homes, these little detours, these little paths. And I'm like, no, you haven't seen anything. Like, I will show you. But again, it takes intentionality. It takes wanting to look at something else. It says, going off of the main course that we're so used to, right? That life keeps handing us. It's you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. But what happens when we go left
Yeah.
or go right? It doesn't fall apart.
Right. Sometimes we got to take chances,
Yeah.
right? And I think, it's just like I think I said before, it's really about seeing people, seeing who they are, listening to them, and go meet your neighbors if you don't know them, right?
Whether it's at a cubicle or an office or an
your
apartment or
actual-
house. Yeah.
I mean, I had met one of my neighbors, maybe I think it was last year, and just because I was walking by with all 4 of my dogs, and she's like, "Oh wow, these are so cute." And we just started talking, and they're the sweetest people. They've taken care of my dogs while I've been on trips.
Oh, that's
Yeah, they're awesome. I'll just walk down to their place and let my dogs out in their yard because they have a fenced-in yard. And I think, it's just about meeting new people. Don't you want to meet someone new? I love meeting new people.
So do I.
I mean, I really do. I don't know. Maybe that's weird.
So
Maybe we're weird.
how do we help people that are maybe watching or listening who are like, I do not want to meet people right now, or I am like painfully introverted? What
Hang
advice
out
would
with
you
us
give?
for a go.
Or rub off.
But
Yeah.
just saying hi, and it goes to, I also have this thing where I always say, like, I'm so quick to talk about my story, listen to my story. But we all have stories. And I love to meet people, and I love to hear their
about
stories. I just met a neighbor. She had to move, but she's still very close by. So at my place in Providence now, the very first day she saw me, she's like, "Oh, you're new. Hi.
Yeah.
My name's
Yeah.
Dee Dee. What's your name?" And a week later, she remembered my name, and I was like, that made me so happy.
Yeah.
I think I was walking out of the house, and I was a couple of minutes late, and I probably spilled coffee on my pants. It's like an everyday thing. And she was like, "Maurice, good morning." And I was like, "Oh, she remembered and it just made me feel so good. And it was more than that. She said Happy Monday because she remembered I said it to her the first time. So it was like it. And then I learned about her, and I learned about this awesome life that she's led and how she ran for office before. And she has these grandkids across the country, and she travels back and forth in a Sprinter van. And then I'm like, this woman is insanely awesome. Like, I would have never known that if she's the one who said hi, but I was very receptive to it. And it's like what you said, say hi to your neighbors. You'll never know who you're going to meet. It's easy for me to say to meet new people. It's easy for me. For the folks that it's not easy for, just kind of think of all the benefits. I mean, you might be meeting somebody or hearing a story that you really need. You might be starting a connection that your life really needs.
Yeah.
I can't say it enough. Like, connections. They talk about it a lot in sobriety and recovery. And
You could have support system.
you have to. It's not about, the reason why I struggled early on with maintaining the sobriety was because it was all about me. It was all about, hey, I'm doing the right thing. I'm into fitness. I'm into this. I'm going to work. I'm hanging out with my family on the weekends. Everything's good. It's me. Yeah. When I got serious about the community, whether it was a church community and the fellowship of other grown men doing awesome things, whether it was that or whether it was the running community where I saw other men and women hyped up about life and hyped up about positivity, I needed those connections to realize that it wasn't just all me.
Yeah.
It wasn't just all me that was going to continue on the path.
Not just all.
It's no. And you can't, and then to flip it, and when you're having a bad day or a bad season, because we all have those. Like, everything's, I say it all the time, life isn't always, roses and ice cream.
Yeah.
It's, when you're having a bad season, to have a friend that is going to text you and be like, "Hey, I didn't see you last week.
Yeah.
And what's going on?
Okay.
Is everything okay?" Or having a friend that you can text and say, "Hey, I just got dumped.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. I'm in a rut. I remember because she's my ear and shoulder to cry on for a lot of things. But
Sorry for you. No, just kidding.
Well, I also think that, you have to get outside of your bubble,
Yeah.
right? And you got to do some stuff by yourself, in order so that you're not necessarily a crutch. Like, you can't hang out with Maurice all the time so that he introduces you to things. But you also have to do things by yourself. Like I'm known to go on vacations by myself. I've met one of my best friends on a yoga retreat through Juliana.
Yeah.
And then, we go on different trips together, but also Maurice makes me feel bad about working out. So I had a weak moment and I signed up for this thing called the Tough Ruck. It's a
Oh, no. Are you doing
26.2.
it?
No, I did it.
You did it.
I did it.
Awesome. Okay.
26.2 mile rock with the
Wearing a weighted
backpack. So my backpack ended up being like 25 pounds. And so I was doing like a walk run so I could make up some time. But I was like, at mile 20, I'm like, Maurice, make me feel bad. Sign me
It
up
took
for
to
this.
mile 20 though, which
It
is like,
did.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I
I only
did.
had 6 miles
at
left.
that point you're done.
And I was like, it was for a great cause. And I met a lot of great people. So I think you do, it is hard sometimes, but most of the time everyone's super friendly.
Yeah, and there's something that we're circling around here, right? Is that when we get out of the picture only being about ourselves and we invite, you actually zoom out of the lens
Yeah.
and go up, there's like two other people in this room and more, right?
Right.
It's not just about us. I remember being very young, and I think it comes with age and time and that you learn to be more humble. But I remember being like, like I am the ocean, right? Like I am this big thing. And finally my aunt said to me, what if you're the grain of sand at the beach? Are you going to be mad? And I was like, at first, I think I was young and I was like, yeah, because I'm meant to be the ocean. But I was like, no, we all have to contribute, right? And even if I'm that little grain of sand, I'm contributing to the beauty that will eventually be what's led into the ocean or whatever it is, right? And so I think about when we zoom out and get out of just ourselves, to your point, there are incredible stories.
Oh, so many.
There are incredible people.
Yeah.
People who showed up for the first time to something that in itself is an unbelievable act, right?
Yeah.
You all being here is an unbelievable act. The people that are choosing to take the equity challenge this week, I hope are feeling like, I'm doing something
Yeah.
that's bigger than me. I'm taking the time and opportunity to know that this world isn't just my life.
My life. And bring folks together, I think it's really being that connector because we were at an event for Maurice and I ended up inviting like 5 or 6 of my coworkers who came. They brought their moms. It was like a whole thing. It was like
Maybe that's celebrity too.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, bring my work community and work team to meet Maurice and to support him. And also I got to meet their moms. I mean, it was a great thing. So I think it's really bringing people in, connecting them somehow and paying attention, right? Sometimes if I see someone that's maybe, not engaging, I'll walk over to them and say, hey, is everything all right? Do you want to, let me introduce you to the group. You might not remember their names, but it's,
Like, let me introduce you to this person. Exactly.
yeah. So
I think about, as we're talking about a lot about positivity and being a good neighbor and stewarding those relationships in a healthy way, I've been really setting myself into practicing the belief system of that for every negative, there has to be a positive. So I am delusionally telling myself every day, but I'm not delusional, right? In the sense of like that, if there's a bad thing that happened today, I know there's going to be a good thing that happens too, because the only way to give life to this lamp or to this battery or to this camera, whatever it is, it has to have a positive and a negative end, right? Every battery has one.
Yes.
So I'm doubling down in my belief system that my life has to have a positive and a negative. And it won't work if it's all just positives either, right? That negative does something within me too that refines me for who I am and gives me the humility to look out for a neighbor and to care for someone else. Because if you don't, then you miss out on all those lessons that oftentimes feel like they suck in the moment.
yeah.
But you end up being so much stronger and better,
Yeah.
which is what we have here today, right? The two of
Yeah.
you. Incredible
Community.
people. Yeah.
Community.
So if we could, high fives and positive vibes.
Yeah.
If we could tell folks one last thing that they could take away as they're going through this week of the Equity Challenge. Today's day 2. They've still got days 3, 4, 5 left to finish it. what is something they could do to be a good neighbor to someone?
I think reach out to someone new, right? Reach out to someone new that you don't necessarily hang out with or spend time with. Maybe say, hey, do you want to grab a coffee?
Yeah.
I'd love to get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah.
I didn't touch on this as Shameem did earlier, but just being a better listener is something I always need to improve on. I do a lot of talking. I think continue to show up for yourself, celebrate the small wins. Not to sound too cliche, but just showing up is 80% most of the time. Show up and celebrate yourself, self-care, self-love, all that good stuff. But when you make that new connection, be a genuine listener. I'm quick to, I want to tell you my story. I want to tell you my story. I want to tell everybody my story. But I need to remember, if I can't say I'm Mr. I care about your story and then not care. So being a listener goes so far because someone might just need an ear. Somebody might just need a shoulder. And be that person and see what grows organically. A new friendship, a new connection, a new bond. And there's nothing better to me in this world than meeting new people. I think all people are beautiful. I love going and just people watching.
Yeah.
With an espresso.
Absolutely, yes. And the good thing about this is, right, is that that again, we all just learn and grow from all of it.
Yes.
It's all development all the time. It's not seeking perfection, it's seeking
Right.
progress. And it's diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's what it does, right? It allows these conversations to happen, come to life, to hopefully inspire someone who's listening or watching. And I want to also say that if folks are looking to meet someone new, they can reach out to
Yes.
either one of you.
Yes.
And me too.
Yes.
Through Instagram, or if you see someone running with a suit and
Yes.
and a hat on,
Yes.
or if you see
Yes.
Shameem at hot yoga,
Yes. Yes.
or me as
Hit me
well,
up
like-
on LinkedIn.
yeah, like reach out.
Yeah,
I mean,
reach out.
it's what we're here for. We all need one another.
Yeah.
So
And I stopped for selfies. That was a speed workout. I couldn't stop.
Oh, yeah.
you do stop for
I do
selfies.
stop for
Yeah,
I didn't-
'cause I have selfies.
we do.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
so. She goes, I gotta take a
Pause.
selfie. I'm like, but we're really sweaty.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't
It
matter.
doesn't matter. No, you need the proof.
Good. Yes, exactly.
Exactly, yeah. And so, thank you again for being here with
course.
us
Thank you
this
for
week.
having
I
us.
really appreciate it. And for folks who are tuning in and watching, I just want to say thank you again for being here with us. And today's just day 2 of the Equity Challenge. And so we'll see you back for day 3 tomorrow, where it's all about intentionality. Thanks.